and I am back with the video on Rebelle 3. Now, previously I had posted a video where I had said that I had recently purchased Rebelle 3. I actually upgraded from a previous version. And the first video, what I did was I tried out the acrylic brush, and it was great, and I found that Rebelle had somehow become a lot easier to use. Now, someone had explained to me that there was an adjustment made or something that was done to support the tablet and the pen in the tablet regarding the tilt and so forth, and it made the application or the use of the brush just more natural. Now, I'll accept that explanation. It's too technical for me, but it does feel a lot easier to use, and I enjoyed doing the painting that I did on that. That was a video I had done previously. So if you look on my channel, you can still look up the other video I had done on Rebelle 3. But this video, well, the main reason why I liked Rebelle or was attracted to this program was because of the watercolor brush. It has a watercolor brush like no other program that I've seen. Now, when I've said that, other people have said, no, try this software, or try this software, or Corel does this, and it's wonderful. You know what? I understand that there are other programs that do similar things, but none of them do it as well as Rebelle as far as the watercolor brush is concerned, in my opinion. And I use watercolor. I work in traditional media, and I use watercolor, and I'm very familiar with watercolor. I'm not saying that I'm an expert watercolor painter, but I'm familiar with the medium enough to know that I'm getting what I want out of this program. Now, again, I don't know exactly why it is, but it seems like the watercolor brush is much easier to use now. I don't know if there's some adjustment that Rebelle made, but obviously there has to be some new things in order for there to be a new version. So I'm guessing this is part of it. But also, I'm not doing like a watercolor painting in terms of doing a lot of different colors. This is more of a wash, watercolor wash drawing that I'm doing. And when like I said, I've worked in watercolor, and when I was in school, one of the introductions that the instructor had to watercolor was to actually work in these monochromatic washes, and so to get you more familiar with using the brushes and the colors and the washes and how to control the medium and so forth. Now, with watercolor, with even traditional watercolor, and here on Rebelle, you want to control only so much as far as the medium is concerned. You want to kind of let watercolor do its thing, and that is that you see, like what the program is doing here is when you put down a wash, you see the water runs. It's moving. The paint is moving, and what I do. As far as control is concerned, I would let it drip down, or it has on the upper right corner, you see the circle over here with the blue dot in the middle. That's your tilt control. So you can adjust how this paper tilts, either downward or upward or to the right, to the left. Anyway, so I generally have it tilting downward, as you know, as if I'm having this painting on my easel. And what I do is, in order to stop or control it to a certain degree, once I lay down the wash, I would let it drip, and then I would go underneath the color editor on the right, you see underneath that there's a row of icons. Now the second icon on the right is the icon to just dry the canvas. So that'll stop the paint. It's hard to call it paint. The digital paint from dripping downward. So you have some control over how far you have control over how far the paint will spread. But other than that, I try to let like in traditional watercolor, the paint actually do its own thing as much as possible, and I guide it as much as I can. But that's not to say I'm looking for happy accidents. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe that is, but the watercolor works best when you don't try to control it so much as you try to come up with a compromise with it, because watercolor is a very, very challenging medium to control. It doesn't, sometimes watercolor seems to have a mind of its own, and there's so much to watercolor. I mean, traditionally, there's not just the paints, but the kind of paper that you use and so forth, and the brushes, the colors. Over here, in digitally, you have the digital version of it, where basically you have a brush. You have some choices as far as a flat, round, and so forth. You can, if you look underneath the tools palette, where you have all your brushes, there's the brush properties, and those but sliders underneath, and you can adjust the size, the pressure, the how much water, and so forth. So you can play around with it. You can control it to a large degree, but then for me, it's also kind of good to control the things down and to see what it will do. So it's a watercolor is more of a balance between control and also what would be the word? Not being haphazard, but just surrendering to the medium and let the medium kind of have its say as well. Hopefully that makes sense. But so anyway, needless to say, I'm still impressed with the program. Now, it's not an expensive program. If you didn't have the previous version and you're not upgrading, it'll cost you $89. That's a lot cheaper than if you were to buy Corel or something like that. And the program itself doesn't have like a lot of bells and whistles like Photoshop and Corel and so forth, but it has what you need as far as the brushes and the layer editor and the color editor and you can adjust the brush properties and so forth. It's not a whole lot, but it has what you need, and sometimes that's good. I like these programs that are not too difficult to use or not too techy. I'd rather not deal with a whole lot of filters and so forth, and to get my painting done, I would rather something that's more direct, because I come from a traditional art background and not a digital, and digital is something new to me. I'd rather have something that's more direct and not something that I'd have to include using filters and so forth. So Anyway, the one thing is that I like the brushes. Like I said, I bought it for the watercolor brush. The acrylic brush is a terrific brush as well. And the pastel brush I've used, and that's a terrific brush. I haven't used the pastel brush in this newer version. I have tried out the inking brush and of course the pencil that I'm using now. Now the only thing is I don't know whether there are some other properties that I need to look at on here, but these brushes seem a little bit stiff to me as far as the pencil and the inking. The inking I like it. It's sensitive to pen pressure and so forth, so you get a nice thin line for the inking, which is good. Another medium I like to use traditionally is pen and ink or brush and ink. So that is something that I look for in programs as well. But I'm not too familiar with it. I just tested it a little bit. It seemed a little stiff, but maybe there's something I'm not looking at. Maybe there's an adjustment that I can make. I'm not 100% sure at all, but it's okay, because my thing is that, like I said, originally I had, if this was just a watercolor program, I got my money's worth. But it's watercolor and a few other great brushes as well. Like I said, the pencil tool is not terrible, and the ink tool is not terrible, but in my opinion it could be better. But again, I need to explore it some more before I can say anything definitely. But other than that, I mean, for this demo that I'm doing here, this watercolor wash, this is, get back to this and then close out on my video here, because it's getting closer to the end of this video. I still got a little ways to go, but while I have this space, let me say this: if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like. I would appreciate it. But other than that, if you like videos like this and so forth, you can also subscribe, and there'll be more videos. I know I'm going to be using this software again a little bit more often. My favorite go-to software has always been Sketchbook, Autodesk Sketchbook. But there are other softwares that are also like Rebelle that are also worth the look. And I like it again because it is a not too difficult to learn, and also not too techy. It's a more of a straightforward. Like I said, doesn't have the bells and whistles, doesn't need it sometimes. I just think that those bells and whistles sometimes get in the way. There's too many choices, and I don't, especially if you're coming from a traditional art background, you really don't want to get too techy. But again, hit like if you like this video. There will be more, and you can also subscribe to the channel. There'll be more. And also, you can support this channel on Patreon. And I have a Patreon site page, and I will leave a link to that down below. I'll also leave a link to the Rebelle site where you can purchase the software. Like I said, it's $89 if you don't have the software already, $39 to upgrade. And either way, it's not a lot of money to spend on software that's this good, as far as how to use it and what it comes with, But I'll definitely leave a link to that. So far, I can't complain. Now again, the other challenge is going to be to add color, and that'll be for another video where I'll go ahead and add do some color work in a full color watercolor painting on Rebelle. Alright, well, there's still more of this video to go, but I am all talked out. I think that I've said all that I need to say as far as Rebelle is concerned. Again, you know, Patreon, like, subscribe, and so forth. And you keep watching to the end of this video, and I will be back with another video soon. Bye-bye.